there's nothing more important that we could work on in our daily lives that'll have a bigger impact in our personal and professional careers than having the strong ability to build a strong rapport with someone else. And someone else is a total stranger, an acquaintance, someone we haven't seen in a while, a friend, neighbor, client. But that's a lost art, in the digital age.
Sure,
our people skills have declined.
Definitely, I would 100% agree with that. Hello and welcome to Empower and Elevate with me, Marc Thomas. In today's episode, I am excited to introduce you to an incredible guest. A dynamic family man with 4 sons who masterfully balances his passion for sports and travel with a thriving career. He is a visionary leader behind 3 successful ventures, a nonprofit youth organization, a business consulting firm, and a family-owned spa that has flourished for over 31 years. As an accomplished author, he has written 7 influential books on customer service. Beginning with his first in 2003 called Secret Service, Hidden Systems that Deliver Unforgettable Customer Service. Today, we're thrilled to celebrate the launch of his latest book that has quickly become an Amazon #1 release. Please join me in welcoming John DiJulius. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
It's great to see you. It's been a few years. For myself, I think last time you and I spoke in person, or I guess face-to-face, I know we're doing this through digitally, but it was probably about 15 years ago. I was in a workshop of yours. In regards to, it was your Secret Service workshop that you did for an employer of mine at the time over in the Cleveland area. And I could say that there's a lot of things that have stuck with me for many years. It's great to see you.
Yeah, well, good. And Secret Service was for our listeners, was the title of my first book. And it was, it was about customer service, but some people get confused when you say Secret Service. Actually, the Secret Service reached out to us.
Oh, really?
We had a conference every year, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It was called the Secret Service Summit. And they couldn't have been nicer, but they just politely asked if we'd consider to change the name. So we did. More from a branding, because, if you say I'm going to the Secret Service Summit, people think you're doing something with the government or
Right.
FBI. So we had changed it to the Customer Service Revolution Conference, which, obviously made more sense. So,
Okay.
but they couldn't have been nicer about it.
Well, it's great they were nice about it. Didn't rough you up or
Yeah,
anything.
I thought I was going to get audited or something.
Oh, that would suck. Yeah, so, here I have in front of me, here's, my copy of
Oh my gosh.
So, and not only that, but followed up with, I still have, this one's sitting on my shelves, right? So,
Wow.
like I said, been a long time, I guess, fan of what you do and what you preach
Well, thank
and
you.
teach.
Thank you.
So yeah, the rebranding is not one that I guess I kept up on. I still had in my head of what you spoke about 15 years ago.
Well, still to mention it, and it's still a part of the strategy, the Secret Service part. But yeah, no, yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, you are the guru when it comes to customer service, or that customer service experience. Where did your passion come from, and what led you down that path?
Yeah, it's funny, Mark. It's accidents, right? And one of my favorite things to do is talk to younger people who are entering college,
Okay.
right, or the workforce. I kind of think I don't remember, Mark. You tell me if you remember this. I don't remember when I was in college, going to college, having as much pressure to know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. Maybe I just forget, but I just feel like kids today feel like they have to have it figured out by like 18. And I kind of think, it's a little backwards that you ask an 18 or a 19-year-old to go to college and pick a major of something he's never done or she's never done, but they want to do, or they think they want to do for the next 60 years, right? But they've never stepped foot in an accounting room or a courtroom or any of these things. So that's why it's important. Like I told my 3 boys, just go out and do shit and do as much as you can. And in the so doing, you're going to find, things that you gravitate towards, things that you're very good at, things that, you get you out of bed in the morning, something someone's willing to pay you for. So long preamble to how I got started, because both my primary careers were accidents. The first, as I think, I opened 31 years ago a hair salon with my wife.
Correct.
That took off, and today we still own them. And I still own them, and they, it's a chain of upscale salons on the east side of Cleveland, doing very well.
Awesome.
But I never wanted to be in the salon industry, and thought I was going to do this from afar, and just help my wife do the books. And I had graduated from college, and I was delivering packages for UPS. And making really good money back in the late 80s, early 90s. For me, it was really good money. But I wanted to go put as much money away as I could in 5 years and then go open my business. Knew I was going to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Just didn't know what it was. So the only thing I could think of back then, Mark, was I wanted to own a business. And I loved sports. And so the only thing I could come up with 2 + 2 was a sporting goods store. That's what I could do, right? So that's what I thought I was going to do is someday open a little sporting goods store and merge my two passions. So then my wife was a very successful hairdresser, and so we opened. And the UPS it was golden handcuffs for me. So when I graduated in 1989 in college, my degree in marketing got me offers from $18,000 to $22,000, right?
Okay.
My UPS seniority, which allowed me to go driving at the same time, was $45,000.
Oh my goodness, that's a big difference.
Oh my God! And where I came from, that might as well have been $1 billion. I mean, that was just so much money.
Yeah.
So my plan was I was going to drive for UPS for, 4 or 5 years, put money away, and then go open my business. But it was scary because it was golden handcuffs, right? Mm-hmm. If you make 45, you spend 45. Now we have a house. Now we have a kid. Now we have, we're living, to our payment. So I couldn't take a pay cut. So we decided to open up a salon for my wife that, she was very, very talented, one of the top hairdressers in Cleveland at the time. And so we opened a salon, and we almost went out of business within the first 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Why was that?
Yeah, because it was funny. Me and my wife used to go out. We still have them, our business plans. Okay. They're framed, and you could appreciate this. They are about 6 cocktail napkins. We'd go out, when we're dating and engaged and thinking about what we gotta do. We'd go out and we'd be at a bar in Cleveland and say, all right, if we ever open a salon, let's treat customers really, really well. And employees, let's give employees something that they're not getting yet. And then let's give back to the community. And we wrote all these things that was novel. And sadly, it was novel in the beauty industry back then. None of that was happening. So we opened this salon, and I just wanted to take off for her. And so we hired other people, and they wanted nothing to do with our cocktail napkins.
Really?
Yeah, they were just, they were the traditional hairdresser, and, came in late if they came in hungover, territorial. If they saw you if you were their client and they saw you in someone else's chair, they'd throw a fit. You were their client. Right. Where we were just saying, you might call and say, hey, can I get a haircut with, Joanna? And we Joanna's booked. You go, her next opening is a week from Tuesday, or, Sharon has an opening today. And you're like, oh, I'll go with Sharon this one time. Right. But when you came in and sat with Sharon, Joanna would just, embarrass you, embarrass that. And so within weeks, they quit or got fired. So now we're just back to my wife. Wow. And so I thought we were going to go out of business. And the other thing that we had was, like any busy town, you could throw a rock in any direction and hit, 10 salons, sure. Salons across the street, down the street. So we couldn't outspend, outbuild, outmarket out advertise anyone. We had the three no's: no customers, no employees, and no money.
Okay.
So this is, really a long story to get to your question.
No, it's a great story. Keep going.
The only thing we could differentiate ourselves at the time was customer service, because most small businesses, not only hair salons, but definitely hair salons, were really poorly run, right? It was the traditional, back then, the hairdresser was the female version of the landscaper, okay? And if you weren't college material in high school, they'd send you, if you're a guy, to trades or landscaping, and a female would go to cosmetology school or cooking or whatever that was. This is in the 80s. And so a lot of these people were very good at their craft. And then they'd say, I'm sick of making my boss, my landscaping owner money. I'm going to go my own. Same thing in the hairdressing world. But the problem is, or even being a chef in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But the problem is they're very good artists, but they didn't have the business skills. So a lot of times these businesses, lacked professionalism. So that's where we were like, oh, we could separate here. This is our opportunity. Let's just be crazy good at customer service. My wife's had really close friends that she went to beauty school with that loved to do hair at this time, but quit the beauty industry to go get real jobs at Progressive and other businesses, because the beauty industry didn't offer, good wages, no hospitalization, no education, no, 401k.
No benefits.
Yeah. Right. So they had to quit what they liked to do to go get a real job so they can have these things that they needed now that they were having families. So that was a second pillar is let's treat customers really well, but let's give employees something, that was unique, and that they didn't have to go get real jobs. We could be a real job. And so right away, we wanted to be the best. And this is today still our, what we call a customer experience action statement. We wanted to be the best experience in our guests' day, in our customers' day. Now, there's something important to note there. We didn't want to be like, if you sent your wife in to get a haircut at John Roberts, we didn't want to be the best salon experience, because think about that. Too often businesses get caught up in, oh, we're the best printer. We're the best bank. We're the best hair salon. Okay. I wouldn't even like to say that. I don't even think that's true, but let's just say it was. Let's just say we were the best hair salon in, a 10-mile radius. Okay. It really wouldn't matter, because if your wife came in today, got a manicure, got a haircut, got a facial, whatever she gets, she then doesn't leave and go across the street, down the street to our nearest competitor and compare, right?
True.
So how good we are to our competition is almost irrelevant, because your wife doesn't need a salon service for a few more weeks or a month or 6 weeks. So where we wanted to be the best experience in her day. So what we wanted her then, if she had an appointment at the dentist or had to meet friends at a restaurant for lunch or wherever her errands took her, we wanted them all to pale in comparison to how she was treated at John Roberts, that we knew her, that we knew her name, that we welcomed her back, that we asked her how her job was, and obviously gave her a great haircut. So that's really where that came, is we wanted to be the best experience, and we became obsessed. And that was really took off. So I was able to quit UPS and start helping to run the salon, but it was more out of necessity that we wanted to compete with all the other salons that anyone can go to. We want to just blow them away from an experience that we offered to the customer, the team member, and then to give back to the community.
Wow, that's awesome. And so, especially since you said you out of necessity found yourself in a situation to where you back to one or back to yourself, and then go, what do you do to differentiate yourself, differentiate that experience? And you said the experience, you're making that customer, client, whatever, feel special, right? You're making them feel good about themselves, not only because they know they look good because you just did this phenomenal haircut or whatever you might have did, service you performed, but you made the experience unique in regards to about them, right? I mean,
it's something funny that you'll remember, Mark. I don't know how much of your listeners will remember this, but the Secret Service, the book, that actually wasn't the original name I wanted.
Really? What was it?
Mastering the Norm Factor.
Mastering the
Norm Factor. So can you guess the norm? Can you guess where that came from?
No, sir.
Cheers.
Oh, Norm. That Norm. I was thinking Norm isn't normal, but Norm, like Norm. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that was our strategy, is how could we make everyone who walked in the door feel like Norm? We used to play the Cheers theme song for our staff. And no, that was really our strategy. Now, we had a lot of guests that came in, twice a week, twice a month. That's easy, right? We know them, we see them every day. But we wanted also to make the guests that came in, twice a year. Yeah. And we'd have to cheat, and we'd have notes on her that she works at the Cleveland Clinic and that she has 2 young boys or this. But it's funny. So that was our strategy, is make everyone feel like Norm. She gets 3 hellos when she walks in, 3 goodbyes, and we talk to her about her thing. I could not get, I forget the studio, Warner Brothers.
Okay.
To give me permission to use. Really? I don't even know if I needed it today, but I changed it to Secret Service, and it's good because no one knows. Norm and Cheers is so outdated. But that's what Secret Service was. Secret Service was finding something out about you that you wouldn't know. So a greatest Secret Service example, Mark, was if you came in to our salon, you'd see 10 people getting a haircut, right? Mm-hmm. 8 of them would be in a black John Roberts haircutting cape. 2 would be in a white John Roberts haircutting cape. Now, to you, the outside public, we have black and white capes.
Right.
To anyone on our team, white capes mean you've never been there before. This is your first time. And black capes mean you're a return customer. Yeah. So now we all knew, even if I was just walking by you, by the color of your cape, I could just be walking by you and say, hey, welcome back. Great to see you again. And if you're in a white cape, I'd stop by and say, hey, welcome to John Roberts. I hope your first experience is, I'm John, I own the place, or I'm this, or I'm that. And people's head would spin and like, how do they know? Right. So that was Secret Service. Sure. We'd have little hidden clues that would tell us things about you that you had no idea how we knew.
No, I love that. And, and things like that, and that gave me a flashback, because I'm pretty sure I remember hearing that example 15 years, some years ago. If I go to a conference or something, I see different colored lanyards to the general. Yes, they don't realize that they mean different things, right? That it's not just random. No, and that's awesome to hear that. And you talk about the little things. I have a relationship with a vendor, and I think of you just about every single time this happens, that they pay attention to the details. And just randomly things happen. Like a box. I came back from vacation, there was a box in my mailbox. I'm like, what is this? From Amazon. I'm like, why? I didn't order anything. I remember, what is this? I opened it up and it was a book with a little note inside. And it was about my journey about self-improvement and being better. And that vendor took note of what I was up to, went to the CEO of that company, asked him explained the situation, what I was doing. And he suggested this book that he was raved about. And they sent it to me. Just those little things. And, it goes a long ways, even with, I recently, lost 35 pounds and changed my diet, did some things, right? And they knew that obviously some of the supplements I was taking to help with hydration and thing, just one day randomly a package showed up. They sent me 2 bags of it, right? And it's just that thing that makes you feel like you're heard, right? That you're special, you mean something special to them, right? And they put that effort in. And I tell you too, that helps a relationship, even if they goof up a little bit, because goof ups happen, right? Things happen.
Right.
you're a little more forgiving because you've got that solid foundation through the relationship, knowing that they care about you enough that they listened, took note of it, and took action on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I mean, that's what we, what we teach now and our clients do is we collect Ford on everyone we have a conversation with.
Okay.
And, Ford is your hot buttons, your Ford, my Ford is my hot buttons. And Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And we don't sit there and say, let's say a business conversation. Let's say we were having a business conversation. We didn't know each other. I wouldn't say, hey, Mark, are you married? Do you have kids? How old are they?
You're not drilling them.
But it comes up organically.
Yeah.
Right. And it's as easy as, Mark, do you have any plans this weekend? It's supposed to be really nice out this weekend. And, you're going to overshare. Yeah, my kid, my oldest has a baseball tournament in South, Ohio, or, we have a boat that we take out on the weekend. It just naturally comes up. Yeah. Occupation's easy because we're talking business. I probably know what you do, right?
Sure.
There's a reason why we're having that conversation. But, so we record it. It's in our database. So the next time we have a call, I got a call with Marc Thomas. Oh, yeah. I got to ask him how his son's baseball tournament went, or if he's been on the boat recently, and exactly what your person does. When he wants to specialize it. A lot of times people just, all right, I want to send, Mark, a client, a gift. So I'm going to send him a $100 gift certificate to Amazon or Starbucks. Well, that's nice, but maybe you don't like Starbucks.
And there's not a lot of meaning behind it, right? I mean, the thought was nice, right?
Right. But when what kind of vitamins or, the different things, Ford is a powerful tool. And the other beauty of Ford is we're all genetically coded to talk about ourselves, right? And I'm not talking about when we're on podcasts, but just in general. If I see you at a networking event, right? Just because we spoke for 15, 20 minutes at that networking event doesn't mean I built a relationship with you, because I might have been speaking about myself for 15 or 20 minutes. Okay. And, that's a hard urge for all of us, right? You say, hey, John, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? Oh, my God, Mark, you wouldn't believe, the day I'm having, my flight was delayed and just throwing up on you, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm so programmed to learn your Ford that it gets me to not speak on myself. Hey, Mark, great to man. Did you lose weight? You look good. How you doing it, man? I want, that might, I want to get some tips from you, blah, blah, blah. But when you focus on people's Ford and you kind of, drive the conversation, it keeps it on them. And now you got the goods. Now, what Mark's hot buttons are.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and let's just talk about that. We've really kind of diving deep into this element. But so in that scenario, sort of having a notepad and pencil.
Mark, I don't know if Celsius is a sponsor, but they should be of your podcast. Sorry.
I've never had one. Are they good? I take it?
Yeah, they're good. They're good. You'll start talking like me a lot, real fast.
Great. I could use that. Definitely some days I could use that. So how do you, sort of having a pen and paper handy, how do you remember all those things, right? Especially in a networking environment, you're talking to multiple people and they get a full day thing. Yeah. To take, it's nice that we try to remember those things, but really at the end of the day is we lose some of those details. So what methodology are you using to actually kind of record that? Yeah. That looks natural.
So at my desk, we have a Ford pad.
Okay.
For every conversation we have, it even says, alumni. So like, let's say at 8 a.m, before I get my day started, I'll look and see who I have calls, meetings, with. And then I'll go into our CRM system, and every one of our clients from KeyBank to, everyone, they all have added a Ford field. You can customize your CRM, so whether it's HubSpot or Salesforce or an industry specific, you can add a Ford field to every one. So I have it on mine, but I also have a pad. And so what I'll do in the morning is I'll look at, and say, all right, I have a call with, Joe Smith existing customer. And then I'll look up in my CRM system to say, remind me some things about Joe. Oh yeah, Joe is, he's a triathlete. Besides, the business we've done and with him in the past, but he has a couple kids. And then, I'll just collect this stuff as I'm talking to him. I'll enter it into the computer later. But when I'm out, I do it on my phone. Like the same thing. As soon as, I get a break or I go to the bathroom, I'll type in that conversation we had over by the shrimp cocktail where me and you were talking, but and then I'll enter it in the thing, or I'll follow up with an email. I believe there's a gift in every conversation. And so, meaning, the next day, so me and you talk at an event and, you got plans this summer. Yeah. Me and my family are going on vacation here. Oh my God. Have you ever been to Charleston or have you ever been to Nassau, Bahamas? I'll ask you that. And, then the next day, I'll send you an email of top 3 restaurants to go to in Nassau, or I'll send you something. If you're a runner, I'll send you some good places to run in Nassau. This takes 30 seconds, but it really stands out because most people forget even having that conversation about that they're going to Nassau. Now, if you're a VIP client of mine. I'll be like, oh, Mark, you're going to Atlantis. Oh, I've always wanted to go there. Where are you staying? And you say, at the Royal, hotel. Oh, great. Have a great time. And who are you going with? Wife or, whatever. And then if you're a VIP CEO, whatever, there's going to be, wine and cheese and fruit in your room. It doesn't go to everyone, but so it's real easy. There's a gift in every conversation. That gift doesn't have to take time, and that gift doesn't have to cost money. Like I said, me sending you the top 3 activities or restaurants in Charleston, didn't cost me any money. I Googled it, but it's just the thought.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Very cool. And I appreciate the tips on that and how you're obviously keeping track of those things. Yeah. I know I often question in my head and go, how did he did such a great job of documenting that, right? And remember, because it was just a natural conversation, but obviously he made notes, and it's always impressive. And
so if you have a CRM system, it's really nice because anything my assistant found out about you or them, because she a lot of times deals with them more than I do.
Okay.
So now when I get on, a call, I have a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
Let's say we were trying to schedule this last week, but you were off.
Right.
Now I know that and say, hey, how was your trip? How was that? Whatever. So, that's the nice thing of if anyone can add to your, your database, you just keeps on, building.
So walk me through. So you had this obviously hair salon with your wife that you're working in, you're building this experience with the clients. How did you go from that to this? Right. And deciding, hey, I'm going to author a book and create this, right. And share this knowledge and train others. And I remember you telling me about, at the time, talking about working with like Ritz Carlton and Starbucks and all these big companies, right? Like, and hey, not to downplay, but I'm thinking, okay, so you get some hair salons in Cleveland and you're out there, preaching the gospel, right? As far as the customer service to these big companies.
Yeah.
How did you get there? What did that look like? And what inspired you to do that?
Well, it goes back to our first conversation of like speaking to, young people. It was an accident, right? So let's back up. When I was in college, if we were friends and you had said, John, you're going to own a hair salon someday. I would say, Mark, how much do you want to bet? Right? There's no way, no interest. Don't want to be in the beauty industry. It's not for me. And then, it's an accident, stumble into it with my wife, stumble into it or have to get into it because I thought we were going out of business. Once we got into it, she was unbelievable hairdresser, and my business, customer service, made us a unique business where, you actually, the pendulum was in the middle. Back to landscaper, chef, those types of business, the pendulum is usually towards the art side, but they don't have good business skills. So because I was all business, my wife was all arts, we kept our pendulum more in the center. So now we start growing. So now if you'd say, John, this is in the early to mid 90s, you say, John, what are you going to do for the rest of your career or the next 40 years? I'm going to say, I'm going to open salons and, possibly take them, national.
Okay.
Right. If you say, John, no, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to be a speaker, consultant, and author. I would say, how much you want to bet? Like, there's just no interest in that. Right. And so that's why I always say, leave yourself open to it. So, so now we're making some noise in the early mid 90s in Cleveland, and we're growing, and we're getting on TV for our customer service, and, why we're pretty expensive in Cleveland. I usually have to explain because, like last week I was in DC and I had to explain to the audience in DC what Cleveland's like, because the average haircut in Cleveland's like $32 for a woman. In DC, Vegas, New York, it's over 200.
Oh my God,
right?
that's a big difference.
Yeah. But our cheapest or least expensive, what we call a level 1 hairdresser, just after she goes through training, is $55. So that's, already almost double. And then we have, dozens of hairdressers that charge between $100 and $175 in Cleveland, right? And we're the busiest. So that would made news. Like, how could you be charging 5-10 times as much as someone else and be booked? And so it was about, the experience we were given. And obviously they were very technically given. So people started asking me to come and speak at local chambers of commerce in Cleveland and, different things. Yeah. And the only reason why I did it was I just thought it'd be good marketing.
Sure.
Right? You'd be there, never heard of John Roberts Spa, say, I'm going to buy my wife or myself a gift card and go in there. And that's 100% why I did it. Never think it was going to lead to anything else. Well, every time I spoke, a couple business people would come up and say, how much would it cost us to bring you in to speak to our staff? I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, well, I don't like to say it here in person. Let's have a phone call. And I was really stalling because I didn't know, what to say. How much does it cost?
I know what to charge them.
Right. So I start speaking a little bit, mostly in Cleveland, and then more on a national level in the beauty industry, right? Right. That's where my credibility started off. So I'm speaking, and then I'm at these big events, maybe in Vegas or Orlando, and I'm a breakout speaker where you need to, a flashlight and a map to find me, which I deserve to be. But on main stage were these big rock stars. Tom Peters, if you remember, Michael Gerber, Jim Gilmore, just huge names, back in the 90s. So I'd wait in line with them, with all the audience after, I'd get up there and say, hi, I'm John, I'm a speaker too. And they couldn't have been nicer. And they're like, slow down. You have to be in a hurry. And I say, I'm a speaker too, and I think I'm pretty good at this. I just asked them advice, and they couldn't have been more generous. And they said, listen, you want to be, you want to do this more, or you want to do it for real, you got to write a book. And so, that's what I did. So up until 2003, I was a salon owner that spoke 6 to 10 times a year. Mostly in the beauty industry or locally in Northeast Ohio. And then Secret Service came out in 2003. And after that, I went from a salon owner that spoke to a speaker that owned salons. Yeah. And literally since 2003, that was the last time I was involved in the salons, day to day. And then, real companies started hiring me. Like you said, the Ritz Carlton, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Price Waterhouse. I was like, oh my God, I'm not in Kansas anymore. And, and then for the next 5-6 years, I learned more than I taught. Like, you go in there and you're like, oh man, this is, incredible. And so then that just fed the next book, What's the Secret? And turned into a, customer service consulting company. And now I spend all my time in that with our team, the DiJulius Group.
Yeah, amazing. So what was it like working with those? I mean, obviously to go from the salon, that business, to working with these large organizations. What was that experience like for you?
It was intimidating at first. It still can be, but it was just fascinating. And I literally always learned more from them. Right.
Do you have an example of that?
It's funny. What's
Do you
that?
have an example of that? When you say you learn more from them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was trying to do what they were trying to do, and they were trying to do what I was doing. And here's how, at the time I had 1, 2, 3 salons. And, at first, so in the salon business, we were really good at customer service because 50% of our staff was me and my wife. Right. So there's only 4 of us. Yeah. So if you were one of the 4, you had to get customer service, even if you didn't want to, because you had to stand next to us all day. And, and our passion and our modeling the behavior would rub off on you, or you wouldn't have lasted. But then when we started having more success, growth, and we weren't next to everyone, we weren't at each location, we saw that our customer service started going backwards. Oh. Right? Because we weren't everywhere. And there was what we call employee roulette. Mm-hmm. Level of experience was dependent on which employee. And so that frustrated me. And that's really why I started researching how do the Disneys of the world get 50,000 employees to execute this while I'm struggling with a team of 20 or 25. Yeah. And so that's what started happening. And that's what I started learning, what they were doing. And that's kind of what the red book, What's the Secret, came out. That is the 10 commandments of what world-class companies do. And those are the things I learned that every world-class company did in common. So the first commandment is it's been revised a little bit, but they all have a customer experience action statement, something that you have to do every time you interact with a customer, right? Intentionally. Right. They all have one of them is Secret Service systems. It's the Ford. It's the white cape. It's how do we personalize your experience? They all have a signature experience. That signature experience whether you go shop at Tesla or you shop at Nordstrom's, they have their own experience that you could see Dillard's or Macy's is trying to replicate, but where they're getting it from. So it was just this. And then the biggest thing was that I learned was, and the biggest aha that most CEOs, and I was one of them, get wrong is, CEOs think that customer service is innate and they think it's common sense. And it's a fallacy. It's neither. And so they don't put enough emphasis in training. What they do is, they get a young Marc Thomas just out of high school, just out of college, who's going to valet or, cashier, or whatever the entry level job is, answer the phones, and they train him or her on the technical side. Okay. Yeah. Here's how you book an appointment. Here's how the process is. Yeah. But they assume the soft skill is there. But the problem is that service aptitude comes from 3 primary places. Okay. Yours, mine, our newest employee, how service aptitude gets shaped. The first place is service aptitude comes from our previous life experiences. Okay. So I don't know about you, Mark, but I didn't grow up staying at 5-star resorts.
I did not.
Flying first class.
Did not.
I didn't drive a Mercedes-Benz when I turned 16.
Nope.
right?
Volkswagen.
Right. A used hand-me-down, whatever, jalopy, and so, however, the first 10, 15 jobs I got, I was expected to give that type of experience, first class, Mercedes-Benz, to those types of customers, guests, patients, tenants, wherever I was working. And I didn't know what that looked like. The golden rule is the worst compass for customer service, right? The golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. Well, listen, you wouldn't have wanted me to treat you, when I was 19 or 21, the way I wanted to be treated. My sons, who are, at that age, if I said, hey, go work for Mark and treat his customers the way you want to be treated, that would be horrible. He'd be fist pumping your clients, right? But that's where he's coming from. That's where he's at. Mm-hmm. The kid that's parking valet at the Ritz Carlton has never stayed at a Ritz Carlton. So he doesn't know what it's like to, be at a Ritz Carlton. It's not their fault. The second place service aptitude gets dictated is previous work experience. And if you think about it, most people didn't, most companies don't hire from former Disney, Ritz Carlton, or Chick-fil-A employees, which means our employees, our future generation employees, our existing generation employees have worked somewhere else that wasn't world-class, and they probably were brainwashed to be paranoid and suspicious. Hey, don't trust them, right? If they don't ever see, if it's not less than 30 days, if they don't have proof of purchase, if they don't, you don't let them. You don't let them use the bathroom unless they bought something here, right? All these crazy things. And those first two things, previous life experience or previous work experience, we can't control as entrepreneurs. The only thing we can control is the third thing, which is what do we do with our employees, new employees, once we hire them? And so I love asking people this. All right, if you were to hire my son, he's 21, for a customer-facing role tomorrow, how much training would you give him, okay, before you'd allow him to start interacting with your customer base? Some people say 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. Okay, that's really not the number I'm interested in. Here's the number I'm interested in. Of the 40 hours, 400 hours, or 4,000 hours you're going to train him on, mm-hmm. Of that, what percentage is technical, operational processes, and what is soft skill, relationship building, collecting the Ford, using the Ford, the Secret Service, the white capes versus the black capes, the making the brilliant comeback when we drop the ball. And in most cases, it's 99.9% technical. Mm-hmm. And very little, if any. The soft skill training is, hey, see the sign in the back of our warehouse? It says, we are customer obsessed. Okay, go do that. And that's it. And if you tell 100 people, if you tell 100 employees to be customer obsessed, you'll get 100 interpretations. Sure. So the best customer service companies remove personal interpretations. They teach them what customer, I'll give you one more example to this. Sure. So we tell our employees, let's say at our hair salons, but even the DiJulius group, to deliver genuine hospitality. Okay. But that's a platitude, Mark. If I tell 100 people to deliver a genuine hospitality, you will get 100 personal interpretations. One person may think when you walk in, a head nod is genuine hospitality. Another person might think jumping in your arms and hugging you is genuine hospitality, right? So what do we mean by genuine hospitality? Well, here's what we mean. It's the 5 E's, okay? And the 5 E's take less than 5 seconds to deliver, and they're measurable, so I know if you're doing it, okay? The 5 E's is eye contact, enthusiastic greet, ear-to-ear smile. That's the first 3. Takes 1 second to do. Eye contact, enthusiastic greet, ear-to-ear smile. You walk in the door and someone says, Mark, how are you? That's the first 3 E's. Eye contact, enthusiastic greet, ear-to-ear smile. The fourth E is engage. Uh-huh. And engage means it's you, it's about you, it's not about me. Mark, how's your day? How's your job? How's your kids? Whatever we may know about you. And the 5th E is educate. Okay. every time you talk to someone on my team, you should walk away saying, wow, there's no one smarter at their job than that person, whether it's over the phone, trying to book an appointment, whether just walking in, whoever you're dealing with. So the 5 E's is eye contact, enthusiastic greet, ear-to-ear smile, engage, educate. It takes less than 5 seconds, but now that's what genuine hospitality is. I'm not leaving it to what Mark thinks genuine hospitality is versus what Sally thinks. And so all these things I learned from these great companies is, they had these things. So there's other things, being a zero risk company. Zero risk means, it doesn't mean that they'll never drop the ball. Everyone drops it. Amazon drops the ball. American Express drops the ball. Nordstrom's drops the ball. What zero risk means is 2 things. One, they drop the ball less than their competitors. But more importantly, when they drop the ball, they pick it up and make it right. Right? And then you're sometimes more loyal to them than had they not dropped the ball because you can't believe how well they handled it.
Yeah. No.
So there's so many things I've learned from them that I felt guilty getting paid by them. And that's what all my books were from then on, is just I codified what these world-class customer and employee experience companies had in common.
Phenomenal. Now, you mentioned your sons. You said you had three sons, correct?
Yeah.
And so you mentioned late teens, early 20s?
Actually, 31, 26, and 21.
Okay. So and I guess we all know that raising children can be a challenge in itself, right? But as far as embedding that customer experience knowledge in them, is that something of just being around that they picked up on, or, and in second part, are they following through dad's footsteps and doing the same type of thing you're doing, or they're off doing their own thing?
They're off doing their own thing, but yeah, they are very personable, and they're high tuned to kind of what I teach. They've all helped me in different aspects, but I'll tell you what, we play this game. Just an example, we play. So here, 2 things. One, if you were at an event and one of my boys was there, and I see you talking to them, they know, they 100% without a doubt know that as soon as your conversation's over, I'm going to go over and I'm going to ask your Ford, right? So they know they better be learning your Ford because they're going to get tested on it. And they're masters at Ford, right? But the other thing is that, I have one of our non-negotiables in the organization is beat the greet. Okay, beat the greet is no one says hi to you first. Like if I walk into if you walk into my business, it's like good morning, right? Every employee has to beat the greet, right? That's just a great a customer service, and it beat the greet, and then in parentheses is 15/5. Okay, 15 means if I come within 50, if an employee comes within 15 feet of anyone, it could be the UPS driver, right? They have to smile and nod. 5 feet, they come within 5 feet, they have to say something to you. Okay, good morning. Welcome back. Great to see you. Even if they're not dealing with you, even if they're walking by you to get to the person behind you, they have to say something. So to show you how crazy I am, since they were little boys, we play this game, beat the greet, when we travel and go on vacation and stuff. It's the only time they were allowed to talk to strangers, but dad had to be there. Okay. So picture this. We get to a resort, and me and all 3 of my boys, or me and one of them, are walking out of a hotel room, and maybe we're going down to the pool. And if we see a stranger coming by us, I would say, good morning. And that I beat the greet. So we keep score. So anyone I beat the greet, I get a point. Okay. Now, on top of that, if let's say my youngest son, Bo, is with me and we're walking, and my boys love this game. Okay. We just went to Sweden last year. They're all adults. We still played it. Okay. Oh, it's a really fun game. All right. So now picture this. We're walking to the pool. I see you, a stranger, walking me. I say, good morning. And so I get a point. I said, hello to you. Now, Bo cannot get a point for saying hello to you because I technically own you because I said hello to you first. Okay. So I'll see someone like 100 yards away. I'll say, hey, guy in the yellow shirt. Hello. He's mine too. But here's the hard part. Even though Bo can't get a point for saying hello to you first, he still has to say hello to you first, because if anyone says hi to us first, we lose 20.
Oh my goodness.
So this has happened. I've stepped off an elevator. I've turned around a corner and someone will say good morning. And I'll be like, oh, shit. And I just lost 20 points. Ruined my vacation. That guy has no idea why I'm mad at him, right?
How could you?
Right. And, and even like my kids are funny. Like, they hear me speak all the time, and you're not allowed to say no problem. Right? You got to say my pleasure, or certainly, or yes, I'd be happy to, or you're welcome. No problem's a big problem.
Yes.
And so if when my kids were young and they'd ask for more ketchup and the person would say no problem, they'd say, well, why was it a problem? They're twisted when it comes to this stuff.
No, and I just, you just brought that up and it just triggered me. I'm like going, it's because of you that my pleasure is a response of mine. Because I'm sure it was embedded no problem previously.
Yes.
Right? But I think you gave that example some 15 years ago, and that stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's interesting little bits. I'm like, oh my goodness. I just had a realization where that came from, right? Like going all the time, like, my pleasure. Yeah. And so wow. No, very cool. So yeah, that's too funny. The games you play, and they get into that. And that's, really, it's a life skill you've given them. Right? For relationships.
I did a TED Talk and that's what it was on. And it's called Meet As Strangers, Leave As Friends. It's 9 minutes and 31 seconds. If any of your listeners, just, YouTube it.
Yeah.
Meet As Strangers, Leave As Friends. But, I always say, show it to your employees, but watch it yourself. And if you have kids 8 or older, have them watch it. And it's exactly what you're talking about. There's nothing more important that we could work on in our daily lives that'll have a bigger impact in our personal and professional careers than having the strong ability to build a strong rapport with someone else. And someone else is a total stranger, an acquaintance, someone we haven't seen in a while, a friend, neighbor, client. But that's a lost art, in the digital age.
Sure,
our people skills have declined.
Definitely. I would 100% agree with that. So I know I'm going to touch it a little bit. I know because we haven't got to the new one yet, because I'm going to talk about employees, right?
Okay.
But I'm also interested in a little bit about you in regards to, some of the things like in the hair salon and then the Julius group. What's some of the biggest moments and I guess setbacks you've had to overcome in your journey as an entrepreneur?
I don't know how much time we got. There's a lot.
As much time as you'd like to take. I'm dead serious. We're on your timeline, so.
Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, and I now I expect it. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, and successful means you're going to be around long enough. These things are bound to happen, and they almost have to happen to try to help you reduce them from happening in the future. But we've had early on we've had staff walkouts where I thought we were going to go out of business. Where eight hairdressers left in one day and all went and opened their own salon. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to be out of business. So those setbacks are, we were compromising, our mission and core values by keeping bad attitudes. But we wanted growth and so we were growing. And, we needed to hire, let's say, 5 other employees.
Okay.
Now we had these 8 that were bad attitudes, constantly complaining, weren't aligned with what we wanted. And we made excuses to why we would keep them. And so because we needed 5 more, we didn't want to need 13 more, right?
Right.
And anytime I have found that you compromise culture for sales, you end up losing sales in the long run. Because what was happening is our turnover was higher back then because people couldn't stand working with those 8. So we were losing good people
To a toxic environment because of those people.
to a toxic environment. So those 8 people quit, which was like $1 million in sales. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to go out of business. And, the opposite happened. Everyone was so happy. Everyone rallied around. We stopped losing people and we ended up, making up the $1 million. We didn't lose $1 million. We back then we might have been doing $3 or $4 million.
Okay.
Like this is in the early 2000s. And, so if we did, let's say 3 million that year. So when we lost them, we thought we were only going to do 2 million. But we did 3 million again, which was huge because 1 million supposedly walked out the door, but a lot of their clients stayed and whatever. But it was a painful lesson, but it was a necessary lesson that anytime you compromise, culture for sales, you lose the sale. And listen, we were losing the reputation because let's say that you heard that this salon was great. Great reputation, great customer service. So you or your wife come in expecting, this Ritz Carlton experience, and you get one of them, and they're not bought, and they're taking shortcuts. They're not saying my pleasure. They're not, beating the greet. They're not doing the 5 E's. Yeah. And you're like, what a crack of shit, the price is way too expensive. Blah, 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 blah. So, the hardest thing, the easiest thing to say, hardest thing, and to this day, is it's better to lose the sale than the reputation, right? And that's hard. It's hard. Yeah. Even in the DiJulius group, let's say, we sign, Starbucks and Price Waterhouse and Key Bank. And, if we had one more consultant, we could sign, 5 more consulting clients. So let's just get this person and we'll teach them. And even though they're not ready, we'll help them. And now we sign another type of key bank and we give it to this consultant who's not ready, who's not trained. And all of a sudden, we got the sale. We got the $100,000 contract, but they're not going to re-sign, and the brand terrorism they're going to do about us, it will never recover from their reputation. Versus saying, "I'm sorry, Mr. Law firm, Mr. Bank, whoever they are, but we're currently at capacity. We should have an opening to be able to take you maybe in the fall." And make them wait, or they say no and they move on, right? But either option is better than, we can take you now. We're going to give you Josh, Green Josh, who doesn't, do it like we do it, but we're going to help him get there, right? So that's so hard to turn down the sale. Sure. But the reputation that you're going to, lose will do more damage, because who knows, a big bank or a law firm, that $100,000 contract you get with them could turn into $500,000 because of the other departments you can get in with. So it's no different than, the salon where you or your wife come in and have a horrible experience. Man, we could have gotten your family, we could have gotten your kids, you would have referred us your neighbors if we would have done a good experience. So that was one of them. That's just one of them. But as an entrepreneur, anytime I've compromised the culture for the sale, we always lose the sales in the long run. And we lose employees because they don't like working with those types of people. Obviously the tough times is, you go through, the third party conditions that you can't control, from 9/11 to the Great Recession to the pandemic. I mean, those are going to come, and those are cyclical in a way of thing, but you got to be prepared during good times. You can't you got to be prepared that your organization could get through the tough times.
So what type of preparation have you made in prior to those type of times as you've experienced all those?
Yeah, just making sure that unfortunately we get fat in good times.
Sure.
And you take your eye off the ball because I say the busy bus is out front. When the busy bus is here, right? In the salons, the holidays, like any retail, is crazy busy, right? And you almost don't have to be great at customer service because you're going to be booked solid. But then what happens comes January, and it's a ghost town. And I always say, and this goes for any business, this goes for consulting, speaking, how busy you are today is not a function of how good you are today. It's a function of how good you were 3 months ago. And so when the busy bus came in November, in December, Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays, if we would have taken really good care of your wife and her sister and all them and blown them away and said, hey, we need to, book your next appointment for January 5th, she would have. But because we were so busy and we were slammed and we had 15 appointments a day and I just needed to get her out of the chair because I had her the 4 o'clock waiting. Yeah. She ain't coming back in January. It's the same thing in speaking. How good I speak, how good I consult in, the fall is going to determine how many people rehire me for the next quarter. So it's all those things. And, those are the things you learn about, customer experience helps. You're less affected by, recessions and things, we're less insulated. So those, making sure you don't, you save money for the tough times. Make sure that, you keep your, unfortunately, I think all entrepreneurs are guilty of this. When the tough times hit, that's when you start looking at your P&L saying, all right, do we really need this? I mean, these are frivolous, right? Do we really need this? We should be doing that in the good times. So we don't have to, make severe cuts in that. Other things, listen, John Robert Spa lost both its owners in a matter of a few years. And what I mean by that, when my first book came out, I said earlier, 2003, it took me out of the salons. Okay. And now I'm speaking and traveling all over the world. But that's okay because I got my wife running the salons and she's great at it. Well, she tragically died in 2009 in a car accident. Oh, my goodness. So that's not something you factor. That's not a recessionary thing that you can prepare for. No. So now that salon, kind of lost both its owners because I'm stuck. I can't get out of what I'm doing. And then they lost her. So, she was like our visionary and that salon. So that was something that I had to make sure, I rallied the team besides going through my own thing.
I couldn't imagine, what you're going through. You're correct. Your children, yourself, and then you've got, wow. And
then I have 150 employees who are freaking out thinking, do they have to go look for another job? Is this business going to fall apart? Is it going to slowly erode? All those things. And so, these are just all things that I think if you're in business long enough, personally and professionally, you're going to be hit with certain things. And it's critical that, the first thing, we all want to do, I think my innate thing is, you want to go in the fetal position and cry and woe is me. And, and what I've sat in my driveway in over 31 years, more times than I like to remember. Sat in my driveway, not ready to go in my house because of something, because of 911 and thinking that's going to put us out of business, because of the Great Recession, that's going to put us out of the business. The pandemic, the loss of my wife, decisions I've made that maybe didn't go right, the walkout, all these different things. Okay. And you sit in your driveway and you just wonder, is this it? Is this the thing that's going to knock us out? The house that we've just, bought or built, am I going to have to sell this, or is it, am I going to lose it? Are my kids going to have to change schools? Right. And I have 150 employees counting on me for a paycheck and a livelihood. Yeah. And did I just screw them over? And so, these are the first intuitive things that go through an entrepreneur's head, at least mine. And woe is me, right? Mm-hmm. Why did this happen to me? And then I remember, it goes back to, well, why did we open this business? Right? It was to bring something different to the industry. It was to bring something different to the community, to the employees, and are we doing that? Yes. And it also, I have to remind myself, my employees didn't buy, they had options, right? Every employee has an option.
Certainly. They
got different job opportunities. And they all chose to work at my company because they believed in, the vision that we have. And they gave up opportunities to go elsewhere because they said, no, this is the place for me. And they've stayed. I've got people, 30 years, 28 years, 25 years, just tons of people with longevity. But even the people at 2 years, they chose to buy into my vision and not someone else's.
They had a choice and they made that decision and they chose you, right?
Yeah. And now is the time, just because I'm hitting some speed bumps, I can't bail on them. I have to give myself, hey, pull your your bootstraps up, and you got people that trusted you, and you bet this is and that's the biggest life lesson for an entrepreneur. If you get into it because you think you're going to have good days and good times, and it's the economy is always going to be good and nothing's going wrong, well, that's not going to be true. And I didn't get into being an entrepreneur because I thought that I wanted to be the guy, the person. Then when the shit hits the fan, I figure it out. When everyone's panicking, running around with their head, I'm the one that's going to say, we got this. We got this. We're going to weaponize this opportunity. And, and we are going to, rise to the top. And when people see that, so it's not easy. And trust me, it's an act a lot of times where I'm scared out of my mind, but I can't show my employees that I'm scared. I always try to pretend I expected something like this to happen. We're right where I thought we'd be, and we're in the best position. And this is actually going to be our finest moment. Now, do I really think that? No, not always. Sometimes I'll go home and say, oh my God, like,
holy
what am I going
to do? Right?
Yeah. But my employees, I actually think I'm at my best when we're at our worst, because I'm just like, it's kind of like being down 24 points at halftime.
Yeah.
Oh, I have, the playbook for that. Sure. I knew that this was a good possibility. They're playing right into our hands. But
now, I appreciate you sharing that with me. And it's one of those things that a lot of things you just said there, they're going, you're 100%. And and then, the fact that you're able to recognize that and say, hey, regardless of this, I need to present myself in this manner. They need me. And face it, we all deal with a lot of things in life, personal and professionally, and, it's things we can't control. And it's just how do we handle those? Or even then, if I want to go in a closet and shut the door and whatever, like,
scream, cry
to myself.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's great.
That's okay.
Right? And it's okay to have feelings, right? And it's okay to deal with those, right? But how you're presenting yourself to others obviously can have a huge impact, especially not just in the short term, but in the long term.
Yep.
You touched a bit ago talking about the 90s, and if I had that bad experience and I have this toxic 8, and how do you feel that the digital world we live in today, right? There's so much, and I'm looking for my phone at the moment, and here it is. Instantaneously, I can express myself and my experience with your salon, right? Which I couldn't do in the 90s.
Right.
How does that impact the customer experience and knowing that, hey, if they walk out of here, they can either praise me or they can slay me? And, what do you do to deal with that? especially if it's a negative experience. How you
Right.
it's one thing if somebody just going to come back or maybe they tell their friends not to go there, right? But man, instantly the world knows about it.
Yeah. To me, and I'm not talking about the digital devices and social media. I'm pinning, there's a lot of drawbacks with it. But if we keep it in just the lane you asked, how's it affected customer service? It's the greatest thing ever. Because like you said, if you came in the 90s and we, disappointed you, treated you like crap, threw you out, were rude, how many people can you tell? And, and back then,
Right.
You tell your neighbors, you tell your friends, you'd eventually forget about it until someone maybe once in a while say, hey, I'm thinking about going to, oh, no, that's really bad. Right. But today you have a megaphone.
Yeah.
And you could, especially, and you also have not only a megaphone, but you have a camera, the TV guys that used to carry around the big cameras.
Sure.
Everyone is walking around with that big news camera, and if you video record me telling you, well, get the hell out of here if you don't like it, and being rude, that could go viral. So it was it's the best thing that ever happened. Because now shit companies can't hide, right? Your Yelp scores, not one off, but your Yelp scores are going to be, true if you have 50, and what people say about you online, the average is going to be true. And you can't hide. And great companies will be exposed as well, which puts us on stage constantly, because if you're calling and talking to a customer service rep, you could be recording it. It should be being recorded by the business, but it should be being recorded. Just like, and we work with law enforcement, but I do believe, them video recording every, engagement with a civilian is a great thing. And I think it's good for them, because now there's not the he said, she said, he called me this, he, was physical with me. Now there's proof. And that there's proof, there's hopefully, checks and balances, and also consideration of, all right, maybe I'm not going to be as aggressive or whatever that may be, or the civilian can't lie and say he or she was. So I think it's great. I love it. And this goes back to the zero risk. There's a service recovery. So when you drop the ball, and I don't care if you're posting or you're not posting, if you call up and say, I didn't like your presentation, I didn't like your haircut, whatever business model it is, we're going to overcorrect. And that's where most businesses fail. What do you mean? Well, and then they make you justify it. And don't punish 98% of your customers for what you're afraid 2% are going to get away with or try to get away with. I'm okay with getting taken advantage of 2% of the time. I don't think I do.
Okay.
But what 98% can't believe, how well we took care of it. You just call me up and you say, John, I was really disappointed in, here's what we're going to do for you. So the 3 rules of correcting when someone's upset: address it immediately, take blame, and overcorrect.
So address it immediately, take blame. So take ownership of it.
Yep.
And then overcorrect. Yep.
Yeah. Instead of saying, well, you should have, and why did you wait a week? And all that stuff. Now, there's going to be people listening saying, well, we got some people that do this, every week they buy this can and they drink 3/4 of it and they say it was no good and they want a new one. Okay. That's the 1%ers, and you could have a thing for them. But if I've been coming to you and I never complain, and today I'm like, hey, this is flat. Don't, see how much I drank. Just say, here's another one. I mean, handle it. There's a service recovery paradox that's very true. It's probably happened to you in your life on both sides of the fence, definitely as a consumer. The service recovery paradox is if you go to do business with someone and you have these expectations and they hit them, they don't blow you away. But, you come in and you make reservations for Tuesday night at 7:00 and you walk in and they have you down at 7:00 and you go sit down and you have a nice meal and you leave. Okay. It's a nice, you may go back, you may not, right? If you want that type of food, whatever. The service recovery paradox is if you go in and you come in, you're like, hi, I'm here for my 7:00 reservation. And they're like, oh, we don't have you. You're like, what? I called 2 days ago. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see what we can do. And they run around, blah, blah, blah. And the place is packed. And you're talking to your wife. You're like, all right, what else is open right now? Where can we get in on Friday night at 7:00? And they come back and say, we're so sorry. Here, we did find you a table. It's going to be in the bar. Is that okay? It's a little louder. That's fine. As long as you get and they take care of the dinner. Right. Or they, they do something for you. That's called the service recovery paradox, where you came in expecting this and they bombed,
right?
But they made it right. They overcorrected. Now you might be more loyal to them than had nothing gone wrong. Because you're like, wow, I trust them. Like they didn't say, are you sure you have the right night? They didn't look to see if you have They didn't blame you. They just said, we are so sorry. And for your inconvenience, we've comped a bottle of wine, or we've comped this, or we're going to give you dessert or whatever. And the manager came out, he apologized for the inconvenience or the miscommunication, right? You're more impressed with them than, I actually like when we screw up. It's a sickening thing. So I'll give you a really classic example of this. 25 years ago when I was involved in the salons, I had a rule, and it's still the rule. If it gets to me, it's free. Okay. And it's not hard to get to me. My cell number is all over the salon. And the note said, yeah. And the note says, love to know about your experience. If we crushed it, please let me know so we can celebrate it. If we missed the mark, please let me know so we can make it right. And then my email and my cell. And so very few people call me. And when they do, I'm glad they did. But people don't take advantage of it. They're not calling me at midnight. They're not, but when they do, I'm glad they did.
And are they calling you for the crushing it, or are they usually calling you with an issue? At what level they are? Okay.
But more are, and 99.9% email me. Here's my personal email.
Okay.
But if you need to call me, and so let me tell you something that's really cool psychologically about this. So I started this and just put my email, no cell. And I got emails, okay? I don't know, maybe 5 a month. And 4 out of the 5 were, hey, I really want to tell you how I went to your salon for the first time, and this Sandy, and she couldn't have been nicer, and oh my God, and what, and 4 out of 5. So I got 4 greats, and one was, I could have been better. So it gave me the opportunity to fix it. Hey, let the next experience be on me, blah, blah, blah. For some reason, I didn't feel I was getting enough feedback. So I wanted people to know I was serious. So the only thing I changed was I added my cell number. You will get me. A couple of people just called just to see if it was really my cell. I will tell you, here's the thing that happened. I went from getting 5 emails a month to probably 15.
No doubt.
By putting my phone number. I didn't get more calls. I mean, I got a few calls here and there, but it just said, man, if this guy's willing to put his personal cell number, he really wants to know. And I'm going to tell him. And I just got more emails. Okay. So, but my thing was to my staff was, if it gets to me, it's free. Because no one wants to call the owner, the general manager, the vice president up. You don't want to do that. Let's say you had a bad experience last night in a restaurant and you're really upset. You don't want to call that restaurant today. And if you do, you're mad. And on top of that, if you're that mad, and now you get the general manager on the phone. You almost have to embellish it because you're getting them on the phone. You're like, yeah, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. So I told my employees that whoever calls me, I'm not going to argue with them. Whatever they want, they get. If it gets to me, it's free. And whatever they get is going to come out of your quarterly bonus, the manager. Uh-huh. So my whole point was handle it at the salon level, because when it gets escalated, people get really angry. And when they have to tell their story 2-3 times, they start remember, oh, you know what? This happened to me last year. This isn't the first time. And they're telling other people. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that to happen. So here's my story. Someone called me 25 years ago and said, Mr. DiJulius, I got my hair colored at your salon, at your Solon salon, and they got color on my suit. It's a woman suit jacket, which is horrible because we're supposed to make you take off your clothes and put a robe on for that reason. So we already screwed up. Yeah. I'm like, oh God. And so I said, can we get it? Can we take it to the dry cleaner? Happy to pay for that. She goes, no. She goes, I already tried. Can't get it out. She goes, and the suit is worthless without the jacket. And they no longer sell the suit. Oh. Yeah. So I said, well, can I send you a check for the suit? And she couldn't believe. She's like, well, it's $270. This is in the 90s. She goes, it's like $275. I said, can I send you a check? And she was like, you don't want to know you don't want to know how old it is? I said, no. She goes, you don't want to see it? No. She couldn't believe it. Hung up, looked up her thing for her address to send her a $275 check. And I sent her a half-hour massage for her inconvenience. Now, there's a little marketing on that end. Okay. Now, what we do, we probably still do this, is whenever we had wanted to give, an apology. Mm-hmm. If we had a new massage therapist, a new nail technician, we'd always give you, as part of the recovery, a thing. Here's a manicure with Amanda. Amanda has no clients. So it kind of does us a favor too. It impresses you that we gave it, but we're also getting Amanda, instead of her sitting around all day,
there's something to do now,
doing nothing to do. She's doing these apology gifts, but she turned a lot of them into clients. So it's a win-win. Yeah. All right, so we must have had a new massage therapist at the time, because I sent her a $275 check and a half-hour massage for her inconvenience. I looked up her history. And she's been coming in. She's been a client for 3 years. Mm-hmm. She comes in 6 to 7 times a year. Good client. Never referred anybody. So send her off this. And about a year later, I was curious if we retained her. And I looked her up. And in the following 12 months, she came in 7 more times. I was like, yes, right? We retained her. Then I clicked on her referrals. And she referred 18 new customers.
Wow.
For $275. What advertising or market could I spend $275 and get 18 new customers? So I tell my staff, get color on everyone's clothes. But that's the point. Yeah. Own it, address it immediately, own it, and overcorrect.
Yeah.
Instead of getting into a pissing match, sure. You should have taken off your jacket, or you don't like your haircut. Well, it's been 2 weeks. Why didn't you? If you didn't like your haircut, why didn't you come in the next day? I don't give a shit. Give him a free haircut. Now, if this is the 3rd time he does this, yeah, right. But
I have a bigger issue there. For sure.
That's zero risk. Yeah. That's what being zero risk is.
All right, awesome. I'm going to think about that one a little bit more in future interactions. That's for sure, right? Because I could see that. So, John,
a lot of times, like I have an employee, I have a lot of employees that because where they previously worked, they were programmed not to trust the customer, and they're protecting the business, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I can't blame them because they are thinking the business is getting taken advantage of them. So it's really a hard habit to break. That I say, no, Lindsay, it's okay. Like, I'm okay. Trust them. I want you to be naive, not paranoid. Okay. And so, Lindsay, this is the first time, Mark's been coming here for 2 years. He orders books from us every time he hires new employees. If he says this time that, he ordered 30 and he only got 20, send him another 20. Don't send him the 10, send him 20, right? Mark doesn't have a pattern. He's been a good customer for years. And this is I send him 20. Don't send him to 10 because 10 would make it right. Send him to 20 because I want his mind to be blown, right? It's an opportunity to be a hero to him. Actually, don't send him. Drive those books over if he's in Northeast Ohio. But that's the thing versus, no, John, I have a receipt here that says it was a case of books. That case of books is 30. It's okay, Linz. Even if, I'm sure he's not doing it on purpose. Maybe they got lost. Maybe UPS lost the 10. But he has a history with us. Right. He's never tried to take advantage of us. Be naive.
No, love it. I appreciate hearing that. I could see this. I could see how this would be applied in just about every scenario, one way, shape, or form, right? I mean, yes. And, we were obviously in the tech world and we worked on the end user level and these things, but, going, how can we change some of that mindset, so those habits, so that programming into our employees and shift them more towards that experience. And when we talk about employees, I really want to touch on, what I have sitting in front of me and, reading this, especially just a few weeks ago, I was in Denver meeting with some of my peers and we talk about these things continuously. I'm looking at a book called The Employee Experience Revolution. And I can't help but notice when I read the top of this, and as I'm looking at this, increase morale, retain your workforce, and drive business growth. Just reading that sounds really damn good, right? So tell me, what inspired this? What do I get out of this? Because I know we're dealing with a different, you and I are similar in age, and we could say this generation and that generation. I'm sure the generations before us did the same thing. Times are different. We talk about virtual employees and hybrid and work from home. And, we talk about how we have vendors that, man, I tell you, post-pandemic, it's not the same experience we had before the pandemic, right? Yeah. Like it's hard to get things done. Everything's a much slower pace, right? Like restaurants, oh my goodness, let's talk about restaurants, right? Like the experience is not what it was. People, my peers, you hear about it, have a hard time, with employee retention, let alone finding those to bring on board. So walk me through, how are you applying your customer experience in the past, how many years of the salons and those, and now we're bringing the employee.
Yeah. So in every book I've ever written, I've always dedicated a chapter to the employee experience, right? And what happens on the inside is going to be felt on the outside.
Okay. And
that's, so important. So, but came from the pandemic and came from, everything you're saying. People are all, even right now, people are asking, the number one question in business is, where are we at with the recession? Is it coming? Is it inevitable? Did it already start? Mm-hmm. And I always say, well, we've been in a customer service recession since the pandemic and all the things you just listed, right? You had the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, burnout, supply chain issues.
Yes.
In every business. The American Customer Satisfaction Index, which studies every industry, has shown that we've hit over a 2-decade low in overall customer satisfaction. And, we've all experienced, it's not a surprise to us. It sucks. On top of that, with inflation and supply chain issues, we're now paying more and we're getting less. That's what I call the experience gap. So coming out of that, since the pandemic, everyone that's called us, our consulting clients have really said, listen, while our customer service could be a whole lot better, we have to work on the employee experience because, and so that really became about 60% of our inquiries. And we went through it too. All the same things, the work from home. One business, the DiJulius Group, is virtual now, and experiencing all the same problems and benefits of work from home and virtual world. And then one business, the salons, well, they can't. The majority of them can't work from home. Yeah. But like hospitality, we've lost people in our industry to different industries that can work from home, right? So there is a labor shift, in that. But the problem is that so we have a lot of things going on. Shrinkflation, right? Shrinkflation is like if you like Doritos, it's a retail camouflage for raising prices. You now get 4 less chips in your bag. Gatorade went from 32 ounces to 28, but still charging you 32. Okay. There's also trickflation. And I just wrote about this in yesterday's blog, where you'll see 2 Coke bottles. And the one Coke bottle is shorter and a little thicker. And then they show you this one next to it, Coke, and it's like twice the size, thin, same ounces, but they're charging $1 more for this one than this one. You're still getting 12 ounces. And so there's trickflation. And then the one we're all, sick of is tipflation.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
Who doesn't ask for a tip?
Everyone.
And Mark, I have a surprise for you at the end of this podcast. I am putting up a barcode asking for a tip for this podcast presentation, right? I want mine. Everyone's getting theirs, right? And listen, this has all led to greedflation. Yeah. And really what greedflation is since, I don't know, the 70s or 80s, the CEO's income has risen 335% out to the average pay of employees, right? And so it just takes back to so many different things. I don't know if you heard this years ago. Millennials canceled the word hustle. They canceled hustle culture, and I was like, what? Like, it pissed me off, right? Because the first knee-jerk reaction was, what these young kids, right? Get off my lawn, all that. And hustle is everything I've done. It's everything we've talked about. I come from very little talent, wasn't a good student, genetically not, blessed, but I've out-hustled everyone. Right. And I've taught my 3 boys that in sports and in life, you gotta out hustle. So that really pissed me off when I heard that they canceled hustle. So I didn't want to be the old man, get off my lawn. So I did research and really read up on it, interviewed. And here's why they canceled it or don't agree with it. And they've had 2 experiences. They had a front row seat as children, seeing their parents, our generation, work their asses off 50, 60, 80 hours a week. And for a large portion of the population, it never financially paid off. And they probably had to work long past retirement years, maybe till the day they died. They had to work a second job to get their kids in the schools and, pay for the things just to have that. So that didn't pay off for them. Now let's think of the kids that it did pay off. My kids, successful entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it, that came at financially it paid off, right? but that came at a cost. And usually that cost is relationships and time at home.
Yeah.
And so when I realized, who am I to say that they're wrong? That that's the life they want, that, you know, they don't want to live to work, that you know, they want to work to live. So it kind of helped me, you know, and so this is really where the book came out. I mean, it's often said that our jobs don't define us, but our jobs and careers are a huge part of who we are, and a significant amount of time we spend alive, right? And so every leader should realize that work needs to be rewarding in addition to a financial compensation one receives. And, you know, the crux of the book, or, you know, the definition of the employee experience revolution is, you know, every company needs to build a type of organization that employees can be proud of, and that allows employees to live an extraordinary life, and gives them meaning and purpose. And, you know, that's really what the book is about. And, you know, understanding, yes, the younger generation is different. They're not wrong, but you better be prepared to adapt to the things they want. Doesn't mean we give them everything, but they want more flexibility.
Is flexibility one of the biggest things?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that flexibility with hours? Is that flexibility with where they're working, how they're working, what they're using?
Yes.
I mean, everything.
Yeah, everything. And meaning and purpose. One of the silver linings, I think, that came out of the pandemic was that we got away from tying people's jobs to you know, the outcomes and meaning and purpose. And you also have to understand, Mark, we've been in a good economy for 15 years now, right? Since the end of 2009. That's one of the longest, if not the longest, which is sometimes bad from a business leader, right? Because we get fat. We get content. It becomes, you know, and so you know, it helps to, you know, tie people. The currency for millennials and Gen Zs is purpose. They love being part of something bigger, and so, you know, the good companies always tie that to it. There was a report in my book that shocked me. I'm going to forget the percentage. I'm going to say 69% of people who retired at 55 versus people that retired at 65 died 10 years younger, right? And think about that. Work is a huge part of our lives. Yes. And you've known people that retire and, you know, 6 months later they die.
Yes, I do.
And, you know, it's scary. And, you know, and so I love to throw that statistic to my employees. Don't retire. You're going to die.
Well, I think of my mother when she retired, she struggled with, because she no longer had a purpose. Her entire life was working.
That's it. And I don't want, you know, my employees' life to only be about work. I have two rules that I tell my employees that, you know, one, if you're ever going through something tough and don't come to me, I'll be disappointed. And I don't mean like, I don't want to be nosy and know what's going on, but if something's going on in your life, someone could be sick, whatever the situation is, let me know. You know, I want to make sure we're more understanding and flexible with your job. But B, you know, like you, I know a lot of people. I have resources and connections, and who knows if I can get you a backdoor appointment with a specialist or whatever that may mean.
Right.
The second leadership rule I have is I don't ever want you to miss something important in your life. You could always make up, right? There's no reason you have to miss something important in your employees, in your family's life. No one takes advantage of that. No one's like, you know, staying home because, you know, for some silly reason. Our employees appreciate that so much. So so the book's about creating one of the chapters is the power of purpose. And it's all about tying people's jobs to the employees. Another chapter is about creating a recruitment experience. And everything has to be an experience today. And a recruitment experience is from the moment you apply, it should be an experience. Because the other thing is, people aren't applying at one job today like they did in the past. Today, they know it's an employee market. So they're going to apply at 5 different companies, maybe 5 different industries, because they're going to see what the best deal is. And to your question is, well, what's the best deal? It's dependent. It may be $1 an hour more an hour. It might be evenings, weekends off. It might be work from home. It might, whatever that may look like. So if I know that, you're applying at 5 other companies besides mine, and you're someone I really want, I want the recruitment experience to blow those other interviews away.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to do a great job of filtering, making sure you're right fit, scare you out of working here to some degree. But if you're right fit, that scaring isn't going to scare you. That's actually going to attract you. Where the other people, you go from this interview process and the other, and we're going to say, Mark, it's going to take 4 interviews before we both consider if this is right fit. That is going to impress you because the other interviews are saying, Mark, can you start Monday? And you're going to be like, whoa, that's all it took for me to get a job. So there's a lot of things. It's like when you go to our website and you go to our career page and you're about to click on the application, it says, watch this video first.
What's in the video?
And and the video is what it takes to work here. We're not for everyone, nor do we want to be, and one of the stories in the video is, we fired someone that we couldn't get to smile. I'm so proud of that. Like, I really am. And it's a true story. So again, I'm not involved in the salons, but I get reports, and I get this thing. We just had to, let go of Teresa Smith. And I'm like, wow, we never fire anyone, like, to a fault. So I send back, who's Teresa Smith? What did she do? And why did we fire her? And, she was an assistant, co-designer. She was, in training to be a hairdresser. And we just couldn't get her to smile. And I was so proud of that. It wasn't like she didn't smile one time. Oh, you're out of here. They worked with her. And I was like, I love that is our standard. Meanwhile, we got people that's stealing from us that are still working for us, but you just better not, as long as you're smiling, you can do anything.
Well, no, I think it's important to uphold those, right? As we talk about our core values, right? We should hire and fire by those core values, and the whole entire team needs to uphold those, right? And if they're not a good fit because they don't meet our core values, right? I mean, because we determined as a team what our core values are. It wasn't Marc Thomas deciding. We came together as a team and decided those because we felt that's what was important to us.
Yeah. And so, Mark, let's say you're applying and one of the places you're applying is one of my companies. And so you go on our career things, and our core values is great customer service. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't say that, right? So now you watch this video and we talk about, no, we are obsessed that someone's gotten fired because we couldn't get her to smile. And this is what we do for our customers. And we do this, and we'll deliver the extra 10 boxes to your house, and we'll do this. And then you're like, oh my God, like, they're really serious. And you might say, no, thanks. Right? That's a little over the top. Or you're like, oh my God, I didn't know there's a place that thought like I do. But just by saying, customer service is important to us, that doesn't really make it come to life. Now, when you see videos of employees talking about what's expected of them and what they have to do, now you start getting a feeling of if this is right or wrong for you.
No, very cool. And very unique way of handling that, right?
Yeah.
And setting those expectations up front and giving examples of them. And, some people, I could see that going, no, thank you.
No, it turns more people off than it turns on. And we wanted to do that.
It's filtering out the noise, right? I mean, those that aren't a good fit to begin with.
Yes. I mean, we don't want to sit there and so we also do some stuff to make our interview process ungameable. And what I mean by that is everyone's rehearsed with answers. Mark, tell me what your 2 biggest drawbacks are. And you were prepared and you say, I'm a workaholic and I'm a perfectionist, right? You had that ready because that's been asked you on every interview. So anyone can play a role for 30 minutes. So we do things first. I interview like Columbo. Do you remember Detective Columbo?
Sure.
It's a great interviewing thing. I'll be like, Mark, hey, before we start the interview, I see that you're from Cleveland. I see that you grew up and I see, you went to high school at. What was that like? Did you do any activities? Blah, blah, blah. And you don't think the interview starts, so you let your guard down and you don't have these rehearsed. And the gold is in the rabbit holes we go down. Oh, you ran track? Oh, what was that like? And then you end up telling me, well, I only ran track till my junior year because the coach played favorites and, this, that, whatever, and I get a feel for if there's a pattern here where you're always a victim or stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just instead of the thing, we do a first interview, we will do a group interview of 6 people.
Right out of the gate, group interview.
Right out of the gate.
Wow, nothing like feeling ganged up on, huh?
Well, no, it's not a group interview that way.
Oh, okay.
It's 6 candidates come in.
Oh, wow.
And we'll interview 6 candidates. So there's several reasons to this. One, right, I don't want to waste 6 hours with 6 people.
Okay.
That's time consuming, and especially if you're just not a connection. That's a wasted hour. So we bring in all 6. And we kind of go over the job. It's kind of just a non-negotiable. Here's what the job is. Here's what it pays. Here's our expectations. And then, we'll ask you questions. And we'll say, all right, you one by one. Mark, you start. And then Sally, you go. Tell us a time when you went above and beyond for a cut. Tell us a time when you were in a stressful situation. And we really do not care about the answer. We do not care. Now, here's the ungameable part. The candidate thinks that they're answering what we're judging them on is who has the best answer. Okay? What we're really doing is, what is Mark doing when he's not talking? So Sally's talking, Mark's next. And Mark is just thinking about how he's going to crush Sally's answer and one-up it. Or he's peeking at, or maybe Mark's already gone, so he's peeking at his Apple Watch. He's just checked out. Or he's listening to Sally, and she says something funny. He smiles at her and laughs. That's what we're looking for, is what does Mark do when he's not talking? Is he engaged? Is he doing the 5 E's? Those types of things. So we have a lot of things that the candidate doesn't realize what they're being gamed on. But it's just, we're constantly judging. Are they kind? Are they enthusiastic? The things we probably can't teach.
Right. Because, wow. I can't say that I've ever spoke to someone that's used that technique, right? It's definitely different. And it's interesting to hear what you're pulling out of that, right?
Well, that's why our turnover is really, really low, because we do such a great job on the front end. Because it's not that they're wrong or wrong. They're just not right fit for our brand. If that's not you, you'll come in and you will not enjoy this. Yeah. We also have a shadow day. The second interview is a shadow day where you come in and hang out for as long as you want. But we tell you, this is your opportunity to interview us. This is your opportunity to see if this is the job you want. Ask people whatever you want. We don't, they're not filtered. See, is he really good to work for? What's this like? Whatever. But that we want to help you, because the last thing either of us want is in 6 months, you're back looking for another job and we're rehiring. We just lost 6 months.
Sure. Both.
So we try to help, we even tell the candidate what they should be looking for. Are you interviewing anywhere else? And they may say, no. You should, Mark. You need to see what's out there. And see if, you get this, what type of is education important? Because I'm going to tell you now, Mark, we train. This is how much you'll train in the beginning, but you'll constantly be training and all these questions, and you might not think you need that much training.
Well, I think that's a fault of mine. I think that personally, I'm just sharing this with you, is candidates, I think maybe I've scared more away than we've ever actually brought on. And that because I will emphasize those things, right? Like, hey, if this is not, if continuous learning isn't for you, this isn't the position for you, right?
Yeah.
We have these expectations, and we're always learning and growing. And I think I've done the same thing for prospects too, right? Because once again, if we're not a good fit, if we can't adhere to these things, then I'm not looking to be in a bad relationship.
Yeah.
I'm looking for
our
good
interview,
long-term relationships that, that bring value to both of us, mutually beneficial.
Yeah, we call our interview process the 30-foot high fence with barbed wire on it. We're not for everyone. We don't want to just let anyone in.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got two things for you. We probably should just kind of bring this home is what is next for John DiJulius? What's your next chapter?
I don't know. More of the same. I mean, I just love what I'm doing. I love, the businesses I have, helping my team members grow and be successful. And we have a leadership mission that we share with our employees. And it's the first part is we want you to make more money than you ever thought possible. However, we want at the end of your career, you to feel that the money you made was the least valuable thing you got from working here. Right. And so, we just want them to just get so much value, growth we want them to be better spouses. We want them to be better parents. We want them to be better, and obviously fulfilled careers. So it's just, making sure that we reward our long-term team members for what they've done for us and helped us grow, because we wouldn't be where we are in any of our companies without so many amazing employees dedicating their careers to us.
Awesome. And then I know there's a lot of things that we didn't get to today, but I tell you, last and final is how does our audience follow along with you? How do they contact you in regards to your books, your teachings, your consulting? What's that look like?
Website is thedijuliusgroup.com, the DIJULIUS group.com. And then on there is any way you can, reach out to me at john@thedijuliusgroup.com. And I'm on social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok under John DiJulius. So you can follow me anywhere of that.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure we provide links in the description. So make it a little bit easier on some of those that might not be able to didn't catch that. So John, hey, phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and sharing your story and sharing your experiences with our audience.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you having me.
Take care.